ticking of the clock.
Tick tock on the clock. Tick tock, you don't stop. To the tick tock, you don't stop.
It's Doomsday Clock.
Welcome, kiddies, to another episode of Doomsday Clock. I really got to do something with this lamp. This is not working for me. Anyway, Doomsday Clock number 9. So in this one, it definitely gets more real than the previous 8 issues of Getting Real, because all of DC's heroes go up to face Dr. Manhattan, and yeah, things don't go well.
Yeah, that covers a bit of a spoiler, isn't it?
Yeah, although I didn't see Red Robin in anywhere on the planet. Was he in there or just on the cover?
I saw Red Hood in one of the shots on the ships.
Yeah, he was sitting back in a chair.
In the Batman gang.
Yeah.
In the Batman gang plane.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, as always, I'm your host, Guy. With me, as always, is Baltimore, Kaiser, and Danny. And as I said, number 9, and there's a lot to talk about. It was one big build-up to one big beat-down, and then Firestorm had an interesting character twist.
By me. Come on.
Pooted.
Yeah. He pooted. Yes, that's exactly right. So, who wants to go first and share their thoughts? Outside of me.
Do you want to just how do we get here? It's like Ozymandias feigns cancer to get Rorschach to come with him to
Along with Mime and Marionette.
Yes, to break out the Mime and Marionette, to all come over to our reality, not our reality, their reality, the Superman reality.
It's been a weird year.
Yeah. They then split up. Ozymandias goes to find Luthor. Rorschach goes to find Batman, the two smartest people on Earth. Is that what the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair, yeah.
And then Rorschach gets put in Arkham. Lex, the meeting gets hijacked by the comedian, who the Dr. Manhattan sent there, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then throughout all this, Johnny Thunder leaves his old folks' home, asylum, with Saturn Girl.
Home, yeah.
Nursing home?
Saturn Girl's was in the Arkham Asylum, and she helps.
Oh, okay, that's right.
She helps Rorschach.
That's right. And then they meet up together, find the Green Lantern. Meanwhile, the social status is the Superman theory, in which when Superman arrived, all of the superheroes that appeared, many of them were created by the governments for their own protection reasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the people were fed up with it. They're fed up with all the destruction and the fighting caused by them. What was all the hate for Batman again? Because he's not a meta.
Well, we don't know that yet. That still has yet to been revealed. It's supposed to be revealed in the Batman issue or title.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Which should be coming soon.
Marionette and Mime. We meet up with the Joker and Harley. And the Batty.
Then Lobo showed up.
And then Lobo
Main man here, guys.
The magic of old-time radio. Then Firestorm loses control of his power, turns people into glass. I have a theory on that based off this issue. Superman comes to intervene, trying to make it better, helps Firestorm get his power under control, and then things just go bad in that whole
Batman
thing.
trying to stop him from doing that, and then the big explosion happens.
An explosion.
Right, which
Superman is seen.
He's in a coma.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we start with issue 9. Well, issue 9 actually starts with Dr. Manhattan doing he is in the past, present, and future, and everywhere else all at once.
Right, which is great because that finally gives us the origin of Rebirth and
Yes.
how it all began how we lost the JSA, how we lost the Legion, reasons
Yep.
why they aren't in the continuity. That kind of
Yeah, in one page,
Move the
in
lantern.
9 panels, they explain an entire 2 years? How long did Rebirth go? 2 years of continuity boiled down to 9 panels on a page. It's such brilliance, honestly.
and it really does. I mean, it's great callbacks to the original Watchmen, and it's great to kind of see, finally the origins of Rebirth and what happened, and how exactly one little thing has this butterfly effect. And now because of the big fight that Superman and Firestorm all had, the tachyon particles are all obscuring Dr. Manhattan's vision, so he can't see beyond this point where Superman is about to attack him. So there's still that promise that's going to happen. But we see, the origins of Rebirth here. We see all the heroes going to Mars, because that's where they find out, where obviously Dr. Manhattan is hanging out.
I love how, I know we're just kind of jumping around at this point in this issue, but I love how John was the kind of the emissary to speak.
Yes.
Since they're on his homeworld.
On Mars, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of a cool little.
Oh yeah, of course that makes sense. Yeah.
And when I mentioned go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, it's interesting to see all of the heroes that did assemble, that did get there. You have all the Shazam family there. Justice League, you have the Batman family. Just a really incredible, all the Green Lanterns that are there, which is a really interesting point for Dr. Manhattan versus the Green Lanterns. Because Dr. Manhattan is all logic, and he can understand things, and that's how he figures out how things work. But the Green Lanterns is all based on emotion and will, and that doesn't make sense to him.
Right.
Which is interesting.
He even says he finds it difficult to affect that power.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of foreshadowing later on.
Yeah.
I was surprised John Constantine was on one of the ships.
Yeah.
Well, they had to have the jail dark. They had to have a magic group.
But Constantine's like, most of the times he's like, whatever, you blokes, I'm gonna go over here and smoke my cigarette. Forget y'all.
Yeah.
So it was very, very surprising, because I think I liked that one panel, because I think it was Zartana, and then him, and I think Swamp Thing was he there?
Could have been. Etrigan, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Etrigan was there.
Etrigan, and then I think maybe Deadman.
Yes,
Deadman was there.
Yeah, so I was really excited about that panel, because I was like, oh, those are a lot of my guys.
This issue, I mean, the whole series has been a work of art. This issue, like the second half of the book, once the confrontation begins, is almost like every panel I would have as a poster on my wall.
Yes, I
every
totally
panel
agree with that.
It's like they're just hero shot after hero shot after hero shot. Just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And
we even get villain shots. I mean, in that green crystallized whatever thing, vision thing. I guess it's a hologram, whatever.
Yeah. And as I said at the beginning of the video, this literally is the entire DC universe. It's all of DC's heroes going up to Mars to face off against Dark Manhattan, except three.
Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the Trinity.
Yeah, Batman's recovering in a cave, Superman's in a coma, and Wonder Woman's doing a teleconference to the UN. The big three aren't there, but everyone else is.
Yeah. That is pretty interesting. I mean, I was actually first reading this on the app, and when it showed the actual group of the heroes on the spaceships, I thought I accidentally flipped into another comic, because I was like, this doesn't make sense. Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Even the art was just a little bit, I don't know, more crisp, or just
a little more detailed. Like the colors were a little more gradient. Not as flat, stark like the Watchmen style. It was a bit more the DC style.
It felt more like a transition comic of, where here we are kind of bleeding into DC away from Watchmen.
Which I thought was a really nice, very nice, subtle nod to make that kind of visual,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mhm.
Totally agree with that.
And I love that Guy Gardner is the one who throws the first punch. Like
Of
the
course he is.
neck punch. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you see, breaks his neck. You see like this spine just like boop, and he's like, "Oh, didn't mean to kill him, but he had it coming."
And of course, that is short-lived.
Right.
And
Do we want to talk about getting up to there? Or are we just gonna? I mean, that's pretty much it. It's the comic is them on their way to meeting him.
It's a
For the most part. I mean, there's still the whole Lois Lane and
Luthor and Superman
and Superman. So there's a
And
little bit of those scenes, and
You have like the stuff on Earth with, and of course, you know, that blink and you miss it. You see Rorschach.
Right. With
in
the
this
sign.
Thing. You see what you want to see, which I think is a perfect,
Mhm.
you know, kind of quote for him
Mhm.
and for what, you know, the DC universe is kind of in turmoil with.
Right.
They see the problem they want to see. They don't see everything else that's you know, spiraling out of whatever, which I think is really fascinating to kind of see that you know, moving forward. And then you have, you know, the crazy Firestorm storyline that goes throughout this issue.
Yes.
which really hits an apex because Dr. Manhattan just casually reveals things from all periods, and I don't think he's doing it to be manipulative, but he drops a pretty big bomb, and it's like, this can't be true, and then, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a cool reveal. So, do we want to talk about that since we're talking about Firestorm right now?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
it's also, I think Firestorm is the one who really scares Dr. Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know, Manhattan's nuclear awakening is very similar to Ronnie's.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Guy, you said maybe he's not doing this as manipulation, but maybe he is. Maybe he didn't actually manipulate the events, but maybe he's trying to make sure that Firestorm is off the table.
That could be a good thing.
You know,
yeah, that could be notable because another interesting thing I thought that harkened back to the original Watchmen series was Captain Atom.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Atom decides to like finish off Manhattan at one point because Manhattan is clearly uncharted in how powerful he is. And then it's a nice scene because he blows up Manhattan and he looks exactly like when Ozymandias trapped him in that one trap and in his lair. And then, of course, when Dr. Manhattan was created in the first place, he disintegrates and then just slowly rebuilds himself and, you know, disorients him a little bit. And that's really only the time you get to go up against him, I think.
yeah.
But also it's interesting to see because Captain Atom is the analog to Dr. Manhattan for the DC universe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool to see them finally sharing a panel, you know, together.
Which begs the question, the question that, you know, Dr. Manhattan put forth himself. His inability to see past like 5 days later, is it because Superman kills him, or does he destroy reality? Like, does existence cease to end because he destroys it? And you see there was like, well, the Atom, Gardner kills him, he comes back, and then
Atom kills him.
yeah, Atom kills him, and he regenerates, and like everybody's like just blasting, and then he just wipes them all like that. How could Superman is a badass, but the power of Dr. Manhattan's control of just creation and just everything, does he end it all?
Right. Is it like a Big Bang?
Yeah, is just
Catalyst?
everything start back over again? Is Rebirth 2 gonna happen after this?
I kind of hope that doesn't happen because I've really been enjoying the storylines from it so far.
Yeah. Like, I never got into New 52. I was kind of out of comics then, but like as soon as Rebirth started, and like my nephew was telling me he had read a couple of them, I was like, oh crap! So I started reading them, and then bam, I've been like heavy back into comics since then.
Mhm.
Since Rebirth got me back into
Yeah.
comics, as hardcore as I am right now.
Yeah. But we're talking about Firestorm, and then that one thing that Dr. Manhattan kind of dropped, the little bit of information that Martin Stein was been manipulating Ronald the whole time. And that was not a freak accident as so believed initially, and that this was all of a big giant plan that Stein had. And the letter at the end explains that a little bit more. And then after reading that, it was like, well, all the other events where Firestorm was losing his power and he couldn't keep it under control, that wasn't possibly accidental after all, or certainly not in his control.
Right.
Yeah. No, and it's really fascinating to see how that's going to play out, because it clearly sets the stage for a real big confrontation between Ronnie and the Professor.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be fun to see where that ends up going.
The other big takeaway is, speaking of Firestorm, is that he didn't explode and turn those people to glass, and he didn't explode and put Superman in a coma, is what they're alluding. Well, that's what they say. They did the research, and it did not emanate from him. There was a outside power that was making it look like it was him.
Right.
Yeah.
The setup, yeah.
And either if that is the Russian influence, them wanting to start something, because they were just waiting. I mean, that whole scene, they wanted an excuse to fight.
Yeah.
The second Superman sided with them in the last issue, or sided with Firestorm, saying, "Hey, wait, we need to hear them out," and they're like, "Nope, fine, you're our enemy." Gave them, that was all they needed. So that carry through here. There's a panel, one little panel. Where'd it go? It's right towards the end where they're it's during Wonder Woman's conference, and she's saying there's no singular villain. But when she says that, the panel is Ozymandias' hand on a keyboard. You just see a little bit of his gauntlet in the hand, and that just is alluding to that. No, there is one villain. That this is all orchestrated by him.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think that he had the hand in the events of Firestorm? At least the Russian in the last issue, the explosion and the knocking out Superman. Do you think he had a hand in that, or is that just kind of a red herring panel?
I mean, nothing is without purpose in this.
I agree.
So there's got to be more to it than that. And it also, we did kind of talk about Lois is watching over Superman, over Clark, and Lex comes in, and they have a great, two great big scenes here, and which he's like, "I'm the one who gave you that information. Why aren't you following up on it? Why aren't you doing your job?" So it was really fascinating, because these characters have, lots of history, lots of complicated, issues. But it's interesting to put them together for this, to see how they kind of come together or fall apart, essentially, and moving forward to the next 3 issues, whenever they come out.
You think he'll intervene Ozymandias' plots or plans? Like, because Luthor's that smart that he's piecing his things together as well? Like, whatever Ozzy's plans are.
It's possible. I mean, they're kind of like on the same intellect level. So it's almost like, your doppelganger. And you start going, you can think like him. And if you think up the scheme, well, maybe if I were to do it, this is how I would do it. So he's probably thinking of it that way. And, this goes back all the way to issue 1, that Ozymandias is here for a reason. And that is Dr. Manhattan. And getting him back to the Watchmen universe. To fix what he screwed up.
He had done, yeah.
So...
And John didn't have anything to do with it. It's like that whole thing of him putting the things in motion to get the lantern so that he could use its energy with the cat of his cat's energy to kind of summon John, who then comes and takes him, and yeah, and they had that whole dialogue, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm staying here." He's like, "I haven't was excited or haven't been excited like this ever, forever, or whatever."
Right.
Because
Yeah.
there's an unknown, and that excites him, and you see how excited he gets when he discovers the ring, when the lanterns try to take him out, and he like just grabs freaking, was it Guy Gardner's ring he grabbed?
Yes.
Yeah, and he just
I
kind
think
of
so.
He crushes
sees
it.
the essence.
Oh yeah,
and
he's
like,
looking at it first. Yeah.
yeah, and then all the Etrigan jumps in, tries to hit him with Hellfire, and then like all the magic hits him, and he's like, "Oh, this is magic. This is interesting.
Magic.
Yeah, this is
Glad we
just
still learn.
yeah." He's like, "Oh wow," and then he just
Yeah,
plays
whatever.
it, and
It reminded
uses
me of
magic against him.
it reminded me a lot of like number 5, Johnny 5 in Short Circuit with input. Oh, input, more input. That's what I was.
That's a comparison you won't hear often for Dr. Manhattan, Johnny 5.
Johnny 5 with Dr. Manhattan.
I'm sensing a road buddy picture out of this. But yeah, the magic scene was really cool. So yeah, like like said, it's like, oh, this is magic. That's cool. And then he just throws it aside. And then he just starts very casually kicking butt. He's a very casual butt kicker, and that's goes back to one of the questions I think we've been asking since issue 1, and that's, well, how do you put Dr. Manhattan, who doesn't really have to exert himself very much physically, versus Superman, who is the strongest being in the DC universe? I mean, how is that going to even be a match?
Right.
Right.
We'll find out in
Yeah.
80 years when they finish the freaking series. Because as of the time of this recording, issue 10's already been pushed back 3 weeks.
It's like I've said before, they work on the Image Comics publishing schedule from back in the 90s.
Kinda, yeah.
That's very true.
You'll see the next issue in 7 years.
Get around to it.
It does leave a lot of, obviously now you want more, because at the end of the issue you have some of the villains breaking into the UN as Wonder Woman.
Yes.
So that's like a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, he's like, I heard all your friends have left the planet. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Making a move. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It's like, oh, here's the little chess piece. Bloop.
Yeah.
But who's moving it, really?
Well, Manhattan likes chess. Even though that checkered floor was from when he brought Ozzy and them, when he brought them to Mars.
Silk Spectre, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, okay, so we've had Luthor and Ozymandias meet up. Would they align themselves with each other? Would they team up, or would they undermine each other's plan and subvert it and do one to one up each other? And in the end, who would actually win in that kind of one-upmanship?
I don't know.
In the end, does any of their actions matter if Dr. Hinton's fully aware?
Controlling the thing since the beginning of time.
Right. I mean,
although he did manipulate Manhattan in the Watchmen universe to, so his powers of manipulation are pretty mighty to even full and omni.
Also, you talk about, you bring up a point, when the Watchmen universe, he was able to cloud the tachyon particles, which removed his ability to see the future. Same thing that's happening here. So maybe Ozymandias is behind that part,
right?
Or he's doing something.
Maybe Luthor is.
Yeah, it never explains where this flux of tachyon particles is coming from, does it? Is it from the explosion? From when?
I mean, that's what I'm contributing to, but it could be something else altogether. That hasn't been revealed yet.
Right.
Because I was wondering, I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, the term tachyon particles. I mean, what is that derived from? I mean, what
That sounds like a Star Trek terminology thing.
right?
Time-based particles, I believe, is how they're utilizing it.
I just didn't know if they were associated with a certain character, like that term.
Mhm.
Like Mr.
Yeah.
Terrific has his T-spheres, and I don't know. Someone uses tachyon particles.
Jordy LaForge.
Right?
I mean, if you want to
It
freshen
was-
your breath, you could use tic tachyon particles.
God. There's no cure for you. You are not well. This is yet another thing you've brought to this discussion.
I don't know how we follow that up. It was, I guess,
I'm
overall.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
You broke the comic, Danny. Yeah, I think. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm recovering.
So like each issue before it, it's been a slow burn
Mm-hmm.
up until now, and now I feel like it's like it might be going too fast. Like
Right, they've
and
hit
not
the
fast enough.
accelerator for sure.
Yeah, it's like shit just is
Yeah.
hit the fan, knock the fan off the ceiling, and it's just everywhere.
Yeah, I
I don't know
totally
if that's
agree
a
with that.
proper
It felt
analogy.
like I was reading 2 issues in one. That it was just going by so fast, and I mean, even feeling them flying to Mars, just felt the urgency and
Yeah.
and all that going. It was, oh man.
Yeah, for a comic where like almost little less than half is them all sitting in a ship talking.
Yeah.
It's like gripping page turner, and you
Mhm.
just soak up each panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a race against time, they are truly out of time at this point. Their big move needs to be done now because they're pretty much at that end point. And Superman's intervention, however, whenever we've got 3 issues to sort this out. There's a lot of loose ends. I still want to see what the fate of the Rorschach 2 is.
Yes.
The Mime and Marionette. This how are they going to do the Superman Manhattan battle? What about
Who are the Mime and Marionette's kids that played a big role in the story arc? So do they come into play in this at all?
yeah. What does Martin Stein's role with Firestorm mean? Because that last letter page is he wanted to infiltrate Heroes, and that was his way of doing it. He set up Ronald, and that changes the whole origin of that character entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was dark and twisted, and that's not going to go well because Ronald, if he doesn't already believe it's the truth, he's going to come to learn that, and that's not going to go well for 2 people in one body.
Right.
So,
Which is amazing that he never thought about what he had done while he was in Ronald. Well, merged with Ronald. Because if they're kind of one consciously and all, to have never caught wind of that, like he had to have some next level bury that
manipulation, yeah.
Well, one of the other interesting things I thought that was kind of an intriguing way to bring a real world complication into it was Batman trying to get a message to the teams on Mars.
Oh yeah.
And then it takes 13 and a half minutes. And
yeah,
I'm a little like, really? This is a world where we've got like Superman and all these things, and we're still going to wait 13 and a half minutes to get a message to Mars.
The Bat computers run on AOL.
I mean, what do you have, dial-up?
It doesn't matter because it doesn't go through anyway.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, like that was kind of interesting, kind of a real world insertion.
Yeah, like it's not instantaneous.
Yeah.
Communication over that great of a distance across space would. I thought that was actually kind of cool. Like you said, it kind of brought in some real world
technical difficulties.
Yeah.
or technical limitations, I guess is the better term.
True.
And even the great technician Batman and all his bat gadgets can't
Alfred.
make a signal get to Mars
Alfred,
faster.
Alfred, unplug the bat modem and plug it back in. Give me 10 seconds, Alfred. It needs time to cycle.
You have an ID10T problem.
That's right. I'll play Minesweeper until it reboots.
I don't think anyone knows how to play Minesweeper.
No, they don't.
That's ridiculous.
Batman does.
He's that good. His true secret power revealed.
I think I opened that game out like 3 times, maybe. And
I'm
I was
like,
just
what?
This is dumb.
Kids sitting there like, huh?
It wasn't supposed to be
You're
like
not
a
missing much
100-hour
this time.
adventure.
Ordinarily, I'm all flippity flur, but you're not missing much this time. But yeah, Doomsday Clock issue 9. It's as I said, it's getting real.
Real.
Of course, I say that every issue, but like really real. It's like beyond real at this point. It's existing and sitting by you now.
Yeah, all the greatest heroes are. Did he kill them, or did he just wipe them out?
Just, took care of them, but they're not dead.
Yeah,
Made them go night night.
Yeah, he put him to sleep.
because that would be a sales nightmare for DC.
I mean, we certainly clear the playing board.
Well, they could restart the live action movie universe over properly. Oh, snap. But yeah, issue 9 was great. Definitely, if you haven't checked it out, go run, don't walk to your nearest comic store and go pick them up. Tell them I said hi. But yeah, that is our issue 9 review. And as always, it is all geek to us.
Check it out.
Bye.
I hear the ticking of the clock.